Welcome to Let's Get Real, episode 12.
We're glad to be here. One more episode and bringing it, hopefully it helps everyone that's watching. And I hope you enjoy.
Yes. So, this morning, let's cheers like we do every morning.
Café con leche.
Let's go. Thank you. So, today's episode, we're going to be discussing career, fear of change. So when you hear that, what do you think?
Oh man, changes, sometimes we're afraid to make changes in something that we avoid, because we feel safe where we are, especially if you've been in a company for a very long time. You're not happy there, but you have to report to work every day, to put food on the table, right? So
yes. Okay, well, let's get this going.
Let's go.
So, the first question I have for you, right, is when you think about making a career change, what's the real fear underneath it? Failure, judgment, financial instability, or something else?
Well, it could be everything that you just mentioned, right? It could be, the fear of failure, of trying something new. Sometimes, like I mentioned before, you feel safe where you are, and it's something that you are used to doing every single day, and then you gotta learn something new, and people don't want to accept that change, right? So another thing will be, like you mentioned before, like the judgment part of it. What people are gonna say. He's been in this company for a long time. Now he's trying to do something else, this, that, and a third. But that fear of the unknown, could be something that freezes people, on their tracks, And then there's, life situations that may happen that may force you, to seek something else, right?
So can you elaborate a little bit about life situations?
Well, life situation, like for example, myself, coming from a company that. For Con Edison, I worked almost 20 years. It's something that, I was used to doing, and, that was my world that, and everything shifted, when I had my incident, and I let my mental health situation get in the way of it, and I had to make a change. I had to say something, there's got to be something else that I could do, that's going to put me in a different environment. Yes, I was afraid, to pursue a different career in whatever endeavor it is, But before I did that, I took time, to mentally prepare and work on myself. It took a lot of work, a year and a half, almost 2 years, to get mentally prepared for my next endeavor. That's something that I was always, saying, I'm getting ready for my next endeavor. I'm getting ready for my next endeavor before it happened, So, mental preparation is key if you're trying to make a move, whatever endeavor it is that you're trying to pursue. Just find out how to do it, right? If you've been in a company, you're not happy anymore, you feel like it's time to make a move, and just start doing your research first, and then start learning whatever it is that you want to do, right?
And I agree with that. Not only if you're in a company, also a department, right? Because within the same company, if you feel like you're stagnant, right? And you've gotten to a point where you don't feel like you're getting that drive anymore, I highly suggest that you find something, right? Find something that fills you up, find something that fills your cup, that you at the end of the day could say like, wow, like I really accomplished something. Like I really made a difference today. Oh, I finish this project. I have this project from beginning to end, and you get that satisfaction. Yes. If you don't have that drive anymore, then you need to really analyze it, because, it's okay just, some people are okay just showing up, right? I don't think I would be okay just showing up. I need to feel that drive every morning when I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna go make a difference, so.
That's key, yeah. I mean, the company you're working for is, could be a great company, but if you feel like, that there's something else that you could do, to keep you motivated within that company, and they have something related to something that you want to do, by all means, do that, just do that, You don't want to go to work and be miserable every day. You want to get up from bed motivated and knowing that, you're gonna make a difference, whatever it is that you're doing, you know. So yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Yes. Thank you. So the next question is, have you ever stayed in a job longer than you should have because you felt safe? And what finally pushed you to consider change, if any?
Well, I'm gonna use the same example. Being in a company, for almost 20 years, and it was a dangerous, department where I used to be dealing with electricity and stuff like that. I didn't know what to expect, every day. So every day I went to sleep, thinking about it, thinking about what am I gonna do the next day? What are they gonna have me do? What job am I gonna get? How dangerous this job is gonna be. So that, gets you, anxious, and it's like the fear of the unknown of like what it is that you're gonna be doing that day. And that was like very, it was very hard, But like I mentioned before, I felt like I was like forced to make this change. And at the same time, I was afraid to make the change. But it was a hard decision, the company is a great company.
What was your biggest fear?
The biggest fear was, starting all over again. That's the biggest fear. Whatever, at my age, I'm getting older, and I already have basically, a career. When you put 20 years into a company, it's hard, you almost getting to that point where you're like halfway there, or maybe almost close to retirement, 10, 15 more years to retirement, and then just retire into the sunset, and to start all over again it's not easy, but I made a promise to myself that whatever endeavor I do, whatever endeavor that I take on, I'm gonna find something that gives me that drive and that motivation to get up from bed, and
So you have it?
I do have it, and I work with FedEx now, and it's an amazing company. I like to stay active. I feel like I'm working out every single day. I love cardio, I love walking, I love running, and it's like it gives me that adrenaline rush, and not only that, it makes me feel fulfilled that I'm delivering people's packages, right? Like people, depending on these packages to get there safe, and on time, and being part of the logistic part, everything is like time, and getting everything, providing that customer experience, getting the package delivered safely, on time, and done properly, So it gives me that fulfillment that, wow, somebody was expecting this, whatever it is, medicine, something important, or a birthday gift, for that child, especially like for the holidays, I'm looking forward to it, Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah, the
Right?
smile on the faces of people when you
Yeah,
arrive.
when they
Definitely
arrive.
when they come through this door, it's like
Yeah.
when they ring the bell, those bells be ringing all day long with packages, right?
Yeah.
And FedEx, like we have the regular UPS guy, we have the regular like mail coming in, the Amazon guys, like all day, every day. And the smile that we put on our faces because we're like, oh yes, it arrived,
Yeah, I was expecting this,
Or you're
yes.
going to a party and you just bought something at the last minute. It's like, yes, it's here,
Yeah, so basically we're Santa's helpers, basically, we're over here getting the gifts and everything ready, packages ready, and we deliver it,
Nice. I like that for you. Okay, so how do you tell the difference between a smart, strategic move and a fear-based decisions to stay where you are?
Well, like strategic, that's something that you gotta like sit down and plan, right? Strategic means like you sit down, with yourself or your spouse, because it's important that you communicate with your spouse, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You just don't just do it out of the blue and don't communicate anything with your spouse or your partner, right? So,
And we have communicated, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
I myself, looked, and still actively looking, right? For a different career. And we had to speak about that because that was gonna affect our relationship, right? So we have to make sure that we're on the same page, right? That whatever
Absolutely.
career I decide to go with, right? outside, the company that I work in is something that definitely will benefit both of us, right? So that's important.
Yes, you got to be on the same page, and if it's meant to be, it will be, right?
Exactly. So
yes, you don't want your spouse, your partner to be unhappy, because that affects also the relationship, right? So you want to have that communication. What's bothering you, what's going on, what's going on at work that's making you want to make this change, right? You want to be happy, you don't want to go to sleep miserable, wake up miserable, and be dragging, throughout the day. You want to have that drive, something that motivates you and keeps you going, right? Every single day. The alarm doesn't even have to wake you up. You wake up before the alarm. That's something that's amazing.
Exactly, that's something that's amazing. Yeah. So. I want to be able to make a difference, right? Continue to make a difference, right? I know I make a difference every day, and people tell me all the time because I have people stop me in the hallways like, "Oh, you did a presentation for us," and my question is, did I motivate you? And of course I did, right? Because they would have never told me that, right? They would have forgotten me if I didn't make a difference. But I need more, right? I'm pouring into people's cups, but I need somebody to pour into my cup, right? That's where I'm at right now. I need people to pour in, and I need, a job that's gonna pour into me, and I'm gonna feel like I'm productive. I go a mile a minute. For what some people consider work, to me is like a task. Like I was given a task yesterday. Oh, have it by Wednesday. It was done. It's done already. It was done less than half an hour. So I am that person. So I need to constantly be moving. I can't be stagnant. Yes. I need to constantly be, putting out fires and doing things, and that's just me. Not everybody's the same. I mean, people will want to come into work and get paid what I get paid and just, and do the bare minimum. But I'm not like that. I'm always looking for something else. And that's why I'm everywhere. Everybody, seeks out for me because I get things done. I got a call yesterday afternoon from someone that was seeking, help for someone that had an addiction problem. And as a matter of fact, we had an event the other night and I had business cards and I was able to take a picture and give it to the person. Right. So I feel like and I'm getting goosebumps when I'm saying this because I feel like people do reach out to me because they know that I could make a difference, and that I'm doing something. But it's just, I'm looking for something that needs to fill me up, and I'm going to find it, right? But I'm going to pray on it, right? I think prayer.
You're already doing it. You're already doing it by recording this, amazing episode, this podcast, Let's Get Real. So you're already doing something that motivates you and gives you and gets you going, right? So,
yes, this is why this is important for me.
Yeah.
Because I need to do this because I need to keep pouring in, pouring in. And this helps. This is a therapy session for me too. We're talking about.
And somebody needs to hear this, because there's somebody out there that's been stuck, being miserable at a place that they don't want to be. And they're afraid to make that change because they get paid so much money, but at the end of the day, are you happy? And
money's not everything.
Yes.
Let me tell you, money is not everything.
I took a big, loss,
like a third.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Someone asked me the other day, you apply for a position and is it a promotion? And I was like, it's not a promotion. But for me, it is. Because if it is something that I find it, right? Because I think that people misunderstand what promotions are, right? Like, it could be a promotion into mental health. It could be a promotion in well-being. It could be a promotion in you feeling like valued. It could be a promotion in you feeling like seen, right? So I beg to disagree on promotions being monetary. That to me is not what promotions should be identified as. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. That makes a lot of sense.
So, What roles does identity play in career change? Like letting go of who you've been known as, who you've been known as to become something new.
Oh yeah, good question. Well, like I mentioned before, it took a lot of work. Before, I became the person that I consider myself now. I used to be, weak-minded. I gotta say, I was bothered.
Don't say that. Let's take that back.
No. Let me finish. Like I was weakly minded. Like I was like, I let things affect me. I take things I used to take things too seriously, and I used to let all of that affect me and work, right? So me, worrying about what other people think and stuff like that, that was something that used to be a problem for me, But now, when you're talking about identity and stuff like that, the person that I am now, I feel like I'm mentally stronger, like I said, like meditation has helped me a lot, staying motivated, listening to motivational speeches and learning, different things, reading, I became a person that I said, now that I know what I know now, I'm not gonna let that happen again. So I'm taking everything that I've learned and I'm taking it over to my next endeavor. Because now I'm not gonna let people affect me.
Yes.
Now I'm not gonna let a job affect me. And I'm not afraid to make a change. It's something that I like. If I did it before, I could do it again. I'm not afraid. Like if I feel like my mental health is being affected by what I'm doing, whatever job I'm doing, I'm gonna look into changing it right away. Like I can't let that happen again. So
I wanna like check you on the weak-minded, right? There's nothing wrong with you not being okay. I want to reiterate this. There is nothing wrong with you not being okay. And you were at a stage in your life where you were not okay. All right? And you also be mindful of this, right? You also had a different mentality. Having a different mentality, right? Like seeing the cup half empty all the time is not weak-minded. Some people would just either grow up like that, they see that, they mimic other behaviors, or they're just like that, I've had a lot of negativity around me, and I still see the cup half full, no matter what I go through, no matter what. And I've gone through a lot, Lord knows, I had to battle a lot of people because there are people that are very disrespectful, especially in working in an environment where there's only men, right? And I had to check people. Like, you're gonna respect me, because at the end of the day, you have to find where you find yourself where you feel comfortable, and also you have to let people, when they test those waters, you have to make sure they know that those waters are rough, right? Those waters are rough when you're dealing with me, because what you're not gonna do is disrespect me, right? But also that also goes back to the person themselves. Like, we say that, you either end up like the people that raise you, or the people that you're around, your environment. But also there are people that are in bad environments, and they turn out to be really good people. They turn out to be productive people. They turn out to be educated people. So it doesn't really matter. Sometimes the person themselves has to dig themselves out of that hole, right? Yeah. And say, you know what? I'm out of here. Like my sisters and I were in the projects, and every time I walked through the project, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be sitting in that bench for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. That's not gonna be me. I'm sorry. No offense to people that live in the projects. That's just me. I just feel like I'm not gonna be sitting at that bench for the rest of my life. That's just me. Maybe everybody else, to them, they feel comfortable. That's their comfort. But I myself said that to myself. And this is only being a child. I was a child, because I left. I was a little older when I left, but as a child, I was thinking about this. So imagine that, and you know, to us, that, you know, to my parents, that was like a big deal because, you know, we came from an apartment that was freezing and we moved into the projects and there was heat, unconditional heat, you know, so I'm not going to say that it was not a good thing. It was a great thing for us, right? But I also didn't want it to be my forever, you know? You have to choose. You have to choose. And you have to choose your mentality, how you want to think, how you want to show up every day, right?
Yeah.
And when you have those negative thoughts that come into your mind, check yourself, right? Check yourself and say, okay, wait, let me, you know, when you're ready to say something negative, check yourself.
No, yeah, catch yourself before.
Exactly,
Yes.
catch yourself. All right. So if fear wasn't a factor at all, what career move would you make right now? And that's one small step that you could take towards that anyway.
I believe I'm already doing it.
Okay.
You know, just the fact that, you know, I want to motivate people, want to inspire people, you know, and I created that YouTube channel, you know, and that was the first step, you know, to, you know, step into the other side of fear, like, and getting in front of a camera and you know, and recording and talking and, you know, posting content that, you know, could make a difference in people, and that's what I wanted to do, and I believe I'm doing that. Yes, you know, slowly.
I know you're doing it.
I am doing that. So every day, you know, I post a video or two, you know, and I know somebody is gonna see that video. Somebody that's down, that's in darkness, and they just need that little boost, right? So that's the purpose of me putting a short video. You know, it gives you that little boost, because if you scrolling and you depressed and you in darkness and you come across a video that's gonna give you that little spark, you know, like to get up, you know, and do something, you know, instead of just staying locked in your room and not wanting to like associate with people, you isolating with, you know, from people, you know. So that's to me is purpose, you know, and I know it takes time. I know it takes time to grow. But every day, you know, if you stay consistent, step by step, you know, you're making a difference. You're getting 1 subscriber, 2 subscriber. You know, I started with 0 subscriber, and just looking at now, I have 181 subscriber. And to see something go from nothing to up there to 181, it's not a lot, it's not 1,000, but to know that there's 181 people that subscribe to my channel.
I want those 181 people. What's going on? Come over to me.
You know, so they subscribe for a reason, right? And people subscribe to your channel for a reason, because they saw something that they liked.
Yes.
And they want to see more.
Yes.
So that's what keeps me motivated to post 1 video or 2 every single day, no matter if I don't feel like it. You know, I get it done. So to touch on that, you know, I believe that that's something that I always wanted to do, and I'm doing it right now. Yes, there's more things that I want to do, you know, that I would love to do. And, you know, I've written it down. It's just, I have to take action towards that, right? So.
Yes. So with me, I want to tell you that this was a fear. Like, it took me tries after tries after tries, and the anxiety built up, and it was like, oh my God, like, you know, can I do this? It took me doing it at work to say, and not only that, motivation, right? Because I had Chris, a person that's experienced with a podcast, right? To tell me, you could do this. Like, you could do this. You got this. And we did our first episode at work, and I was like, you know what? I could do this. I'm going to do this. And I kept saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Until you asked me what I wanted for Valentine's. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want for Valentine's. I want that fear to go away. I want to be able to freely, and I feel so comfortable. Like, I come here and I'm like, and you know, I have my little setup. You know, this is just the beginning, right? And we're starting here in my woman cave, but this is bigger. Like, this is, let's get real. It's much bigger than just, you know, the couple of, you know, subscribers that I have. Let's get real is a message, right? And a message to the world. And even though you don't subscribe, you know, I know that even the clips that we put out, people are being inspired. Right. And to me, that is worth more than anything in the world.
Exactly.
You know? So me putting out the message and sending the little clips so that, because people don't have time, right? I understand that. We understand that people don't have time to sit down and listen to a podcast for 30 minutes, whatever, 45 minutes. The attention span is very short for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I put out the juicy clips so that people are like get interested, right? And also the message, right?
Yeah.
The great messages that we send. I think it's important.
Yeah, you know, somebody's always gonna be watching. Somebody's always gonna come across it and be like, interesting. Let me hear a little more. You know, and that's when they get engaged and they be like, wow, that was really good. That was really impactful, and that's what you want. You know, you want to make that, you know, that change. That's you want to put that spark in that person, right?
You know how you wake up? Sorry. You know how you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm gonna listen to something motivational. I want that to be Let's Get Real. I want people to wake up and say, you know what, I'm on my way on a long trip. Let's listen to an episode of Let's Get Real. Let's see what this is about. I want that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's gonna get there, right? And the people that didn't believe, you know, they're gonna be like, wow, like, she really did it, you know? The people that, you know, were invited and didn't show up, they're gonna see that, you know what? She really did this. You know, she really made a difference, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's more important than anything. Making a difference, you know? Not that, oh, I had a celebrity here and, you know, whatever. And that, you know, the celebrity's not gonna do anything for you. Because to be honest, at the end of the day, you can have a celebrity for one episode and then all the episodes are no good. What are you gonna do after that?
Exactly.
So you had a celebrity, so what? And that episode went viral. Okay. Are you viral? Are you a person that people want to really look at? What do you think?
Exactly. No, that's absolutely correct, 100%. But yeah, they're gonna see the video, they're gonna get inspired, they're gonna get motivated, you know, they're gonna get that spark, and that's what you want in life, you know, make that difference in somebody, you know, and that's the purpose of Let's Get Real.
So what,
you know,
if you had to leave someone with something about fear of change in careers, what would you say?
just do it.
Just do it.
You know, don't think about it too much. And if something that's not giving you that spark, just go within, you know, pray about it, you know, ask God about it for guidance, and just jump.
So with me, I definitely am inspired by you, and I'm definitely gonna jump, you know, because I've had that fear for some time, but now what's the worst that can happen, right? You know, you change your career and you get a job that you really love, and you still continue to inspire people in other ways, right? So to me, I think change is really good. It's really good. Don't be fearful. All right?
Yes. You find your niche.
Find your niche.
You know, you could do your job, you know, do a job, but on the side you have something that inspires you that you want to do.
And you're passionate about.
Work on it part-time. You know, if you sacrifice yourself for your job, right? Why not sacrifice yourself for something that you want to do? Something that you know you want to make a difference in others. You know, focus on that. Whatever it is that you want to do, you know, dedicate some time to that as well. You know, do it on the side, like a side gig, you know?
Well, thank you again.
No problem. Always a pleasure. Until next time.
Until next time.